We're Malin and Johan, a Swedish couple that have been sailing full-time since 2016. After 3.5 years of sailing, we welcomed our daughter Vera on board. In 2022, we moved into Sunhill Farm and started building our next boat from scratch. We're close to 1.5 years into the build now, and there have been many big jobs in building the hull. During the first months of this year, we have sanded and faired the hull to get a smooth surface. And now we're preparing the final steps for our biggest operation yet, to turn the hull over.
It will be like a square wheel where the whole hull sits in the middle of that.
Last week we finished building the cradle boxes and hoisted the big one up on the hull.
So I have a line now that corresponds to the curve of the bottom of the keel pocket here. But it was quite a lot of work to check that I didn't have too much deflection in the plywood, since it's hanging over this pretty big span here. It's almost 4.8 meters. So of course there will be some deflection in the plywood under its own weight. So I had to not compensate for that, but I had to use the curve in the bottom here so I could land the plywood in the center. So I had to cut away a little bit of the plywood. So it's actually resting on 3 points now, at the ends and also in the middle here. Yeah, so now I just have to take this down and make a really accurate cut along this line here. So the template for the curve of the keel pocket is now finished. I think it looks really good, and I have double checked this with laser line measurements. I've been taking depth measurements along a laser line all along the length of the keel pocket. Have those numbers here, and those corresponds exactly to what we have in real life now. So I'm pretty confident that we are within spec. Maybe some deviation, but that's within 1 to 2 millimeter, so that should be okay. So it feels nice to have checked everything multiple times and having these measurements, which I can make a cutting file from, and having something real as well. And in addition to that, we might as well do a 3D scan of the keel pocket. So we should have everything covered now, so we can work with all types of companies, the ones that like to have something real like this, but also the ones that prefer to work with something like a 3D scan. Got a box.
This time we only used one lifting point, because Johan's plan was to lift the box manually in the other end. It seemed like an okay plan at first, since this one was so much smaller than the other box. But then I got a little worried. But as always, Johan gets it done. Ja, ser bra ut.
Okay. I think it looks okay.
Was that heavy?
Yeah, it wasn't the best way maybe, but it worked. Would have been easier to have a free tackle system like we had over there.
How much does this one weigh? 60?
Nah, maybe a bit more. 70, 80 kilos, something like that. So, not too bad, but it's cumbersome.
Vera is waiting for tacos. It's Taco Friday. Next thing to do on the boxes was to cut the 8mm steel that would be mounted on the sides.
Jag vill göra ett kul istället för inte.
Nu kan du hämta din keps och sätta på dig. These steel bars are the backing plates for the wheels.
Some threaded rods for the wheels. This is leftovers from when we made Strongback. I just love this machine, electrical bandsaw. So much more clean and accurate and less noisy than an angle grinder when you're cutting small things like this. No problems with the threads. It's just, yeah, so much better. So there's 4 of these per wheel.
Tack.
So.
The weather had been amazing the whole day. So warm and calm, and it's so green and beautiful outside now. Johan prepared the steel bars by drilling holes and roughing up the surface to get a better grip for the epoxy glue.
So we're using thickened epoxy to glue the steel onto the boxes, so it really becomes a part of the box.
Hello,
What's your name?
Steve. My name is Vera.
Yes. How old are you?
4.
4.
4.
4.5.
4.5.
Where do you live?
Would we loved?
Where
Loved.
do you live in Sweden?
Sweden är voisk.
All right, we got the 2 biggest pieces on now. So now it's just a smaller box left. I think it will be really strong. And then of course we will have a bottom section as well of plywood that we'll put in next. And that will make it even more stiff, since that bottom section will be in tension when the box is flexing downward.
Vart vill du segla? Vilket ställe eller land?
Öknen.
Till öknen?
Ja, öknen.
Kan bli svårt att segla där i öknen, där är ju bara sand.
So it's time to start building those square wheels today. That will be interesting.
We have 150 meters of lumber beams to build the square frames out of.
Pappa,
Ja.
på förskolan, där kunde jag hänga i de där ringarna här fel.
Va?
Ja, min mamma kom.
Aha, i knäveck?
Nej, med händerna är svissa.
Oj.
Kan jag hinna i dem? Jag går in lätt med plätt.
Johan removed some of the support legs for the strong back, since this is where one of the square frames will sit.
För fotbollen.
Johan is working so much at the moment to get everything ready. He stays out in the barn until like 10 p.m. every day now.
Really nice weather today. I just got back from the lumberyard, picking up what I hope to be the last lumber that we're going to need for completing the square wheels around the hull. Yesterday I managed to finish the bottom sections of all of those, and I have lined them up now with laser, so hopefully the boat will fit through the hole in the wall. So the plan for today is to continue building these. There's quite many, as you can see. And that's because we have limited space getting the boat out of that hole in the wall over there. And that means that if we want to build all these square wheels on the hull inside of the barn, we can't use very wide beams. And that's why we have instead built more wheels, so we can spread the loads a bit better. For a while there I thought maybe it would have been better to just take the boat out first and then build the wheels around the hull on the outside. We were not limited by the space or the size of that hole in the wall. But then I looked at the weather, and here in Sweden it can start raining at any time. So I thought, no, let's build them in here and take the boat out. And if we need to reinforce anything, we can always do that once the hull is outside. But it will be very tight getting the boat through that hole in the wall. We will only have around 3 centimeters on each side of the hull, or these square wheels, when we roll the boat out of here.
This frame is the most forward one on the hull. And since all frames need to have the same exterior measurements, the distance between the hull and this specific frame is greater, since the hull is more narrow here. We're also going to add support beams between the hull and the frame, so that the hull gets totally fixated within the frame. The frame is getting so sturdy, and maybe a bit overkill in size, but we prefer it like this. Failure is not an option when we're turning the hull around. The work continues, and we'll see you again next week, where we will go through and explain the whole hull turning operation. Thank you for watching, and to everyone who contributes to our production. See you next week.